so that I'm clear, allow me to share with you my motives for seeking public office. We often question motives, and I believe that's important to know of any elected official. So to those who have yet to know me, or my record, let me assure you that the only motive that I have going into this is the divine conviction that compels me to serve my community in its time of need. You see, community is more than just a tagline to me. Because unlike my opponents, I was born and raised right here by the 18th Ward. And I purposely say by, because it truly took a village to raise the man that you see before you. As a child, neighbors like the Nolans, the Browns, and the Stevens, and countless others opened their homes to me, created an environment where I could feel safe from danger, and encouraged me to be the positive, hard-working young man that I am today. I received a great education within this community. I attended Emmanuel Christian Academy and St. Thomas More Elementary. I later transitioned into the Chicago Public School System, attending Beasley Academic Center and Chicago Military Academy, Bronzeville. I see a few alums here today. But it wasn't until I reached Western Illinois University that I began to notice just how different my neighborhood was becoming. It's as James Baldwin once famously wrote, "The paradox of education is precisely this, that as one becomes conscious, one begins to examine the society in which he is being educated." So as I finished my bachelor's in finance, I used it as an opportunity to understand why our tax dollars were being used as what they call tax increment financing, or TIP, to fund special projects in other wards. If you haven't heard about it, I advise you to go research that today, because that's the biggest scam City Hall ever introduced in our community. Or why there were hundreds of foreclosure signs in my community long before they had even announced that there was a mortgage crisis sweeping across America. Then as I finished my master's in business administration, I went a little deeper to understand how a marketing strategy can lead to economic growth and development in urban communities like mine, or how we can use a model from the Black Wall Street to pull resources in our community that will encourage entrepreneurship and urban renewal. And while it gives me great pride to announce my accomplishments in the classroom and earn, like my sister likes to call them, more degrees than a thermometer, I'll have to be honest in saying that it wasn't what I learned in the classroom that I think made me the man I am today. I'd be remiss if I didn't credit my greatest lessons from those experienced out there in the community. You see, my education only tells part of the story, because what gives me more pride than a piece of paper is looking back at all the times that I spent mentoring young people, educating young people, serving for our young people, the scholarships that I was able to grant, the doors that I was able to open. You know, people in the community often ask me why I would even consider running for office, when there are others who have resumes that are longer than my arm. But again, you can have all the paper and the titles in the world, but if you aren't using them in the service of your community, what good are they to us? That's the question. You see, this is what I believe makes me the most qualified person for this position. Because for me, this is not a political slogan. It's how I have chosen to live my life, by embracing an ideology of stewardship, and by reaching back to inspire that same sense of responsibility in those that come behind me. See, throughout the course of my education, I served as president for more organizations than I can even remember, quite honestly. I created and participated in dozens of community service projects like those that Marcel was just talking about. And I established mentorship programs to guide young people through higher education. But I didn't do it because I wanted another line to be put on my resume. And I didn't do it so that somebody could come pat me on the back for all of my accomplishments. I simply did it because I saw a need and I rushed to fill it. Because I learned at an early age that, as Gandhi once wrote, we have to be the change we want to see in this world. It will not come to us. We have to be active and reach out and take it. But see, the problem is, family, that we can be a community sometimes that is preaching change, but is not actively seeking change. Anybody know what I'm talking about? How many times have you seen it? I mean, when Barack ran on the Change platform, we were all so inspired, weren't we? How many people do you think actually got out and helped Barack Obama get on the ballot for president? How many people were in our neighborhoods out there trying to make sure that we had a first black president of the United States? How many people? See, many of us lately have been discussing Mayor Daley's recent decision not to seek another term as a sign that change is happening here in Chicago. But let us not forget those aldermen who over the last 20 years served as nothing more than rubber stamps during his administration. Let us not forget that it was our city council that rubber stamped the selling of our city assets, our skyway, our parking meters. Let us not forget that it was our city council who rubber stamped the mayor's budget that has created a nearly $700 million deficit. $700 million. And guess who's paying? Let us not forget also that it was our city council that rubber stamped the mayor's appointment of the failed superintendent of police, Mr. Jody Weeks, and his nearly $300,000 a year salary. You see, I have to mention all these examples because I believe that there are now forces at work that are trying to retell the history of the Daley administration and the city council, to try to paint them as great leaders that created a more beautiful and vibrant Chicago. When the fact is, many of us folks have never seen our communities in such desperate need.